All right, hello class. So apologize for moving our session today, but I did want to make sure that we got one in. So what I'm going to do is call up some of our material for today. Okay, there we go. All right, so in week 3, there are a couple of things that we're working on. First of all, we're covering APA this week, so I want to talk some about that. And you're preparing for the documented memo, which you'll be submitting your rough draft for that on Sunday. The chapter for this week, chapter 12, is a review of APA. It offers some commentary on moving between citation styles, which will be relevant for us. We'll also be learning MLA later. And what I would say about that primarily is that both of them emphasize parenthetical citations paired with reference list citations. And as I cover the chapter, I will show you what I mean by that. So they use slightly different formatting, but overall are pretty consistent in how you move from one to the next. So of these, for these formatting rules, your essay should be typed, double spaced, 12-point font. The memo is a little bit different. The memo, you typically on a memo would single space it. I'm not going to be too particular on that, but if you look at the sample, you'll see that it's single spaced in the paragraphs and then with some double spacing there. So that's just a business format. But the chapter itself is pretty much dealing with what you would see in a research paper. So I have instructions in the chapter on how to set up a title page, and I kind of go systematically through how to do that, and then there's a sample here. You can use the sample memo in the week 1 folder as a model and template for your project, including the title page, so you can plug in your information to that. We will not need an abstract in this particular assignment, so don't really worry about that. That's for longer research papers. But then you do have the main body and reference list on the project. The memo itself, you can make sure to use paragraphing so that you're moving from one idea to the next very clearly. You then have a reference list that you should be including as well, and this is going to say references at the top, and underneath that you will have your sources. So here are some examples of in-text citations. Essentially what you're doing is you're telling me who wrote it, when it was published, and where I can find the quoted information. So the first example starts off with the author's name, followed by the year of publication and page number with the quotation after that. You then can also have the parenthetical citation fully at the end. And in those instances, you are just going to have the author's name, comma, year, and then page number. Or if you mention the year in the sentence, you can do that as well. All 3 of these examples are in fact correct. You also are going to creates summaries and paraphrases, and those are used when you are putting something into your own words, but you're still citing from a source. So, so in this instance, you, in this example, within the research paper, quotations will have more impact when used judiciously. So if that's your phrasing, you're still going to provide that citation if you got it from that source. Indirect sources, that refers to situations where you're citing a source within a source. So in this instance, what you're looking at is actually this article by Bertram, and you're citing something from Fong, which is in that. But what you're actually going to do is you're going to put as cited in Bertram to indicate where it is that you're actually looking at the information. So you're not looking at Fong's actual work, you're looking at Bertram, and Bertram is who you're going to include on the reference list. There's a section here on labeling visuals. That's not really relevant for us yet, but when we do the rhetorical analysis, you will in fact be citing some visuals there. The next section deals with reference list citations. So on this, I have several different samples here that you can look to and follow. And this particular example here is a database journal article. This will be a type of source that we use. The databases themselves will often provide those citations, or you can write it manually and place all the information where it needs to go, or you can use a citation generator, which I'm going to show you in a minute, and that will help as well. Document on a website, that'll be a pretty common kind of source that we'll use. And this just is the author, the year of publication, article title, website title, and then when you actually retrieved it with the web address. I have print books here as well, so you can see author's name, year of publication, title of the book, city, and publisher are all listed there. The chapter goes on to talk about the APA publication manual, citation generators, and then I also offer a full sample essay that you can see. And this is actually the rhetorical analysis assignment. So this will certainly be relevant for us as we move into that unit. This is a sample of that exact project. Okay, so what I wanted to show you now is an actual citation generator. One that I use is called Night Cite, and it's something I certainly would recommend. It you can scroll over to APA, go to website document, and then you just fill in all of this information that you have for a source, and you plug it in, you click submit, and then that will actually generate the citation for you. So that's a resource I certainly recommend. And the activity I have for today that you'll be looking at after the session is offering for you to talk about your research plan. So within that, you will definitely want to tell me about the sources that you found. You might go ahead and provide a citation or two there. That's I kind of leave that up to you. But this activity is kind of a pre-writing exercise. The draft is due at the end of the week, so this will just give me a chance to check in on your project and see the direction it's going, offer some thoughts on your research trajectory as well. The other material in week 3, we have kind of a short week. I did not hold class on Monday because it was a holiday. So when Rose State has a holiday, I don't usually have a Zoom session then. but we'll have this one to make up for it. And the readings this week, the first one is a poem, and these questions, unless I specifically have you do them, you don't have to do these. They're kind of reflection questions to get you thinking about what you're working on. And this first one is a poem. I do assign some literature here and there, and this is about it's called "What Work Is," and the speaker here is he's talking about working in Detroit at a car factory or a car manufacturing plant, and he talks about his brother working there too. Some of his description of work is kind of interesting and relates to some of the concepts we've talked about. He says, "We stand in the rain in a long line waiting at Ford Highland Park for work. You know what work is. If you're old enough to read this, you know what work is, although you may not do it. Forget you. This is about waiting, shifting one foot to another, feeling the light rain falling like mist in your hair, blurring your vision until you think you see your own brother ahead of you, maybe 10 places." So the kind of work that he's talking about is from a kind of a different era of labor in the United States. And this is these are workers who show up and essentially are just waiting for their name to be called. They're hoping to work that day, and if you work that day, you get paid for it. It's somewhat reminiscent of the gig economy of today, except with that, you are waiting around by your app, waiting to deliver food or drive someone somewhere if you're Uber or Lyft or something like that. So we're still familiar, I think, with this kind of on-demand workforce, but you're not going to see as often people just outside of a factory waiting to be called to go in. So this is sort of pre-union labor movements. These are just temp workers. And when he talks about his brother, some of the things that he says, his brother is, you love your brother, now suddenly you can hardly stand the love flooding you for your brother, who's not beside you or behind you or ahead because he's home trying to sleep off a miserable night shift at Cadillac so he can get up before noon to study his German. So we learn that his brother is studying to be an opera singer. So he works all night in a factory and just to get by. But what he's doing is he's really pursuing his passion. And the narrator doesn't really understand this, but he certainly respects his brother. He talks about kind of missing him. And he says that you never done something so simple, so obvious, not because you're too young or too dumb, not because you're jealous or even mean or incapable of crying in the presence of another man. No, just because you don't know what work is. So what the resolution of the poem is that the worker is not just the person who just does the labor and gets paid for it, but to really work is to pursue something you're passionate about. That's what his brother's doing, and he doesn't understand that. It reminds me a little bit of, if you look at the hierarchy of needs, and let me just see if I can get an image of that up. And this idea that what we're pursuing in life is based on this hierarchy. So you have your physiological needs and your safety needs. Those are basic, and you can't really rise above that if you don't have those. But once you are fed and rested and you feel safe and secure, then that's where these psychological needs come in: esteem, belongingness, and love. So those family bonds that the poem talks about. But his brother is operating at this level of self-actualization, where he is working towards this goal that he's passionate about, He's making a lot of sacrifices to pursue that. And he does it because he loves it, and that's what really helps him to feel that he's reaching his potential. He's engaged in creative activities. So this is, relating it back to our memo. When you talk about identity within your memo, I want you to talk about it kind of on this level. In what way does this profession help you to achieve that kind of self-actualization, and how does it impact your identity as you pursue that? So that's what the deal is with assigning a poem, is that it does relate to some of the thematic concepts that we're dealing with within a poetic form. So as you move towards this memo, I want you to focus on writing a complete document, as complete as possible. The sample gives you a really useful guide for this. So I want you to consult that carefully as you move forward with this project. You can see how the paragraphs are set up, how the formatting operates, that it starts with an introduction of the profession. It lays out the goals of the essay, moves into discussion of education, job duties, geography, and then into beneficial traits and identity influences. And those are the kinds of subheadings that I'd like to see in your memo. I want to see how you explore those elements, and certainly look forward to reading that. And then you have a reference list. Your project should have between 2 and 4 sources. So that would be the range that I certainly would look for there. Okay, so in my on-campus class sessions, at this time, what I did was I allowed students to begin to pursue both Discussion Board 5 and also just to work on their memo in general. So that's where I'll wrap things up here for us as well. On Monday, we're going to talk about revision and editing, and I will have some feedback for you on those memos. So get those turned in by Sunday, and we will do some peer review activities as well. I'll have a lecture just dealing with strategies for revision. We'll talk a little more about APA as well. Okay, so that'll be where I wrap up the recording. I am going to stay on for anyone who has any questions or anything like that. So just let me know, and we'll go from there.